Hey everybody, welcome to the 1804 show, chapter 2. I'm your host, Dollar Will, and this is 1804 history. Yeah, I know my setup a little crazy right now. I had switched my living room around, my furniture, and all that, so y'all gonna be getting episodes from this side momentarily until I figure it all out. But yeah, I just wanted to come back on here and give y'all a segment because I miss doing these. I miss teaching. So I hope y'all ready for this and everything like that because this is really an intense one right here because a lot happened that night and stuff. And unluckily, 3 teenage boys, well, I think it was it was 2 teenage boys and a man got killed. And it still was no justice. So I'm gonna try to correlate that with the past with the present on this one because this stuff's still going on today. But yeah, what happened at the Algiers Motel? And pretty much what happened was the Algiers Motel incident, also called the Algiers Motel murders, occurred in Detroit, Michigan. Throughout the night of July 25th and 26th, 1967, during the racially charged 12th Street riot at the Algiers Motel, approximately 1 mile east of which the riot began. 3 civilians were killed and 9 others abused by a riot task force composed of the Detroit Police Department, the Michigan State Police, and the Michigan Army National Guard. So these are the people that's supposed to protect us. These are the people who's supposed to look out for us, make sure that we straight, make sure that we can count on them. These people ain't supposed to be murdering civilians. And these people at that time wasn't outside looting, burning stores, just doing the most. But really what led them there because they heard a blank fire from a gun. And they went there to investigate. But one of the officers had his own agenda. He had his own plan that night to make an example out of these 2 white girls who was found there by a lot of black men. So it was only 2 white females who was teenagers at the time, and they was at the motel with Negroes, which was a no-no back in the day. And it's funny because nobody talks about the racism that existed up north. They try to, paint this picture or paint this narrative that it was just the South that was on this bullshit, but it wasn't. It was the North, but the North hit it so well. But the South was blatant, all in your face and stuff like that. But the North, they did their dirt low key, you know what I'm saying? But let me finish this. Among the casualties were 3 black teenage boys killed and 2 white women and 7 black men wounded. As a result, the task force was searching the area after reports were received that a gunman or a group of gunmen, possibly snipers, had been seen or near the motel. Yo, what up? What up? Yeah, man, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining in. Thanks for tuning in. One death has never been explained as the body was allegedly found by responding officers. Two deaths have been attributed to justifiable homicide or self-defense. Charges of felonious assault, conspiracy, murder, and conspiracy to commit civil rights abuse were filed against 3 officers. Charges of assault and conspiracy was also filed on a private security guard. All were found not guilty. Nice. But yeah, the Algiers Motel. You know, me being from Saginaw, I had the pleasure of staying in Detroit for a minute. And, you know, I always wondered how the riot started and where it started. It just so happens, when I used to see this chick, she stayed on the street where the riots happened, like blocks away. Cause I remember one morning standing on the bus stop, this old lady walked up to me and she was like talking to me. You know, we chatted for a little bit, and then I told her I was from Saginaw and told her I moved in with my sister here and stuff like that. So it's just me and my sister and her kids. So she asked me, like, you know where you standing at? And I said, yeah. Why? And then she said, oh, those couple blocks, that's where it all started at. I'm like, what started? So I'm thinking she crazy, like, at this point. So she was like, no, the Detroit riots, you know, the riots. And I was like, dang. But that street called Rosa Parks now. I think, yeah, it called Rosa Parks now. It got renamed after Rosa Parks. But yeah, it's a lot of history in Detroit, man. And, you know, to y'all who from there, you know, y'all probably look at it like, oh, this home. But I actually felt the presence, you know, because it's a lot of buildings and all neighborhoods haven't really been modified. They still look the same from what they did from the riots. And I could just see the devastation, especially on the block I live, because I lived on Victoria and Mitchell over there on 6 Mile. And I would say out of our house, it was like 3 houses that was livable. The ones on the beside of us pretty much were abandoned buildings and stuff like that, and they would set fires to these abandoned houses. So it was really devastating to it was just really like an eyesore. It was really depressing sometimes. You know, not to diss Detroit, but I'm just saying as far as an outsider, it looked this depressing. So I hope nobody come after me. I hope nobody try to come at me. But I'm just saying, like, when you from Saginaw and then you go live in Detroit, you see the difference. And you really realize, damn, Saginaw ain't so bad. I can do this. I can deal with this. But yeah, cause I wanna like separate the riot from the motel incident. So I'ma just go to the motel incident, skip some parts. But yeah, a lot of people didn't know that the Algiers Motel was black owned. It was a black owned business. So they want to make it that we didn't own anything, because we did. We owned a lot of stuff back in them days. So we just have to like understand that just because black people owned this motel, they couldn't prevent what was going to happen next. So as a reminder, when you see, you know, black people owning something, like the police, come in and stuff like that, it's the police's now. So yeah, it was just a lot of stuff going on. The Algiers was considered by the police to be a center of illegal drugs and prostitution, and was raided regularly by the Vice Squad. It was located close to then headquarters of General Motors, and executives of the firm were regular customers. To the rear of the motel, a 3-story detached home known as the Manor House or Analytics was also rented to clients. Its street address was 50 Virginia Park Street, and it was accessible from Virginia Park and throughout a driveway from Woodward. So I used to be on Woodward a lot. So, and it's crazy because, like, I learned a lot in Detroit. I love Detroit. You know, Detroit was like humbling. You know, it's just like you were spoiled brat, right? You got everything you wanted. And when you kind of like don't know the real world, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you don't know what to expect, Detroit would make a man out of you, man. It's different types of breeds and animals down there, like hustlers and gangsters, real life gangsters. Like, if you don't know, like, how to survive, man, you gonna get eaten alive. But I learned a lot in Detroit, man. I cannot complain. It humbled me, made me a man, made me appreciative, and it made me hustle. It made me grind, you know, a lot further. Because, like I said, only the strong survives. Like, but other than that, the motel itself was laid out in the shape of a U with its office, pool, and cabana rooms to the left and 2-story wing of rooms to the right around its parking lot. The manor house could be seen from Woodward Avenue. But like I said, I had the opportunity to see these motel. Sorry, I keep on calling it a hotel. But yeah, I seen it. It's pretty like vacant, but it still stands, and it's really creepy. Like, I don't think anybody, you know, would even resurrect it based off the history. But it's really creepy. Like, you know, I was able to see it, and it was just one of those crazy moments when you just see a building or see a place where people died and stuff. So, yeah. But as far as the guests goes, I'm gonna just talk about the 3 that got killed. First, Carl Cooper, he was 17, killed by a gunshot. Fred Temple, valet to the Dramatics, killed by a gunshot. And Aubrey Powell, 19, killed by a gunshot. So these 3, pretty much kids, teenagers, you know. Besides Charles Moore, who was in his early 40s and stuff, he was a survivor. But yeah, it's just a very scary position to be in, because it was one black security guard who by the name of Melvin was guarding a store across the street from the Algiers. After midnight, shots were heard, and guardsman Ted Thomas reported gunfire in the vicinity of the Algiers Motel. A large group of police officers, state troopers, and guardsmen were ordered to investigate. They observed people in the windows of the Algiers building, and shots went in the air and stormed the building through its three entrances. Yeah, so the one thing that they don't say about the riots is that they killed innocent people too. It was people who were black that didn't do anything wrong. They was chilling. Some was just outside, minding their own business, and they just opened fire. It was a civil war for no reason. Besides, because a lot of the police officers were racist. They was from the South, and they brought that racism with them. Because the Great Migration, when they talk about pretty much all Southerners, they talk about black people coming up north for factory jobs. But they also leave out the people who was racist, who came from Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas. These people was evil. These people, populated and patrolled the black community. But they pretty much went to the suburbs, and all the jobs went with them. When they had the white flight, because the white flight was in all American cities. That's something they don't talk about. That's why a lot of whites are in the suburbs now, because Negroes was moving into their neighborhoods. This is not about being racist or anything like that. It's the truth. But yeah, it's just sad. Like, these was kids, and they killed kids, Just think about you being 17, 18, 20 years old. You're not really processing anything and everything like that yet. And this was the modern day kickback. Everybody was just chilling. They all was friends. And just so happened that they get caught in the crossfires. They get caught by the police, doing a raid. And all of them racist, what I'm saying? All of them beating them up, especially because of the fact that it's two white girls in the motel. So they wanted to make an example of what not to do. And to me, I feel like anybody should be able to date whoever they want. That's not my place to call you a sellout for dating a woman of opposite color of you. But nobody should die. Nobody should be penalized for that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't deserve to die. And it just really affect a lot of people back in them days, because it's damn, I'm a kid and I can get killed for this. But Carl Cooper was the first youth shot dead in the incident. Cooper had been in the third floor room, but his body was found in a first floor room, A2. He was killed by law enforcement personnel when they first entered the building. According to later testimony, he may have been mistaken for an armed rioter. According, hold on, let me see. Additionally, several law enforcement witnesses later testified that Cooper was already dead when they entered the building. The shooting was never fully explained and no one was ever arrested for Cooper's death. His injuries were consistent with buckshot wounds from the type of shotguns the Detroit Police Department used in their testimony about the entering of the building. Guardsmen, state troopers, and Detroit police officers each testified they were not the first to enter, stating that Cooper was already dead when they arrived, leaving responsibility for the death unexplained. In the federal conspiracy trial, the defense would attempt to show that Cooper was killed by occupants of the motel before the police arrived, but this was denied by those occupants. They testified that at least one policeman shot in the rooms first and checked for persons later. But yeah, like I said, this is some bullshit. Like, for real, man. But yet, you know, this happens every day. As long as you have a badge, you can kill. You can get away with this shit, you know, as long as you have a badge. And I'm not saying all police are bad, but you got the ones that sit back and watch these crooked cops, man, these racist cops, man, get away with this type of shit. So, what do we do, man? How can we protect ourselves when the law is gonna do it for us? You know, you were sworn in. You graduated from the academy. But now it's like, okay, my life could be ended being at the wrong place at the wrong time by police officers. Not gangsters, not no ops, but police officers. They will never understand, man. So, basically, they was all rounded up in the first floor hallway and lined up against the wall. The various police officers presented hit each other's person in turn, threatening to kill them unless they told the officers who had the guns and was snipering from the motel. The two 18-year-old women, Julie and Karen, were both forcibly stripped naked and called nigger lovers. Several of the men were shown a knife on the floor and told to pick it up so they could get killed in self-defense. In turn, each of the black youths in line were taken to rooms and intimidated with threats or gunshots and told to stay still and quiet or be killed. The policeman who had escorted the occupant then returned to the hallway, making some comments about the death of the individual. First, pre-conflicting reports, an officer took one of the youths into a room and fired a shot in the wall to make the prisoners believe he was dead in a simulated execution. He then asked guardsman Ted Thomas if he wanted to kill one. Thomas then took a occupant into a room and shot into the ceiling. Aubrey Powell then taken to a room A3 by Officer Roland August. August would later admit to Powell's killing, stating it was in self-defense. A spent cartridge found next to Powell was a .300 Savage, a type used for sporting rifles and not issued to police officers. Powell had intentionally injuries to his head. Witnesses describe how he had been beaten in the head with a rifle with force enough to break the rifle. The remaining occupants then admitted that Cooper had a starter pistol and had used it earlier. The sound of gunshots was then heard outside the motel and the police officers left. 2 remaining officers escorted the remaining prisoners out the motel and told them to run home or they will be killed too. The death of the third youth, Fred Temple, occurred at the time or later. Several of the prisoners who were allowed to leave recall Temple still being alive when they left the motel. Temple's body was later found in room A3. He had been shot by Officer Robert Pally, who later testified it was self-defense during a struggle over his gun. I'm sorry, man. This makes me mad. And this was in Michigan. This wasn't in Mississippi. This was Michigan. So just imagine, like, all the other stuff we haven't heard before. So the black security guard by the name of Melvin Mutes, who was black, was the first to be charged. Of course, charged the nigga first. Ain't that a bitch? He ain't had shit to do with it, but he gets charged first. You know, the hypocrisy, man. He was arraigned for the felonious assault of James Stortort and Michael Clark in the first floor hallway of the building. He was freed on $1,500 bond. Melvin's trial took place in May 1968. He was found not guilty of the charge of felonious assault. The all-white jury returned the verdict in 13 minutes. Well, he was lucky, you know. But yeah, like I said, they all was found not guilty. It shouldn't matter the names, or it shouldn't matter what happened to everybody else, but it was no justice. People got away with murder, and it's still going on to this day. And just like I said, man, like, we hate each other so much that we will be willing to ride and mob on each other. But these people who killing us get to roam free, get to live out the rest of their days. There's no fucking revenge or retribution for killing one of us. You know, and I feel like, if anything, we should have that same energy to anybody who killed one of us, or not just a white police officer, but just anybody. Like, we let people go away scot-free, and we get left empty-handed. But yeah, these officers, besides Mr. Melvin, he had his reputation destroyed because of the fact that people believed that he was in on this. And Melvin became a security guard for the Detroit Pistons. He received death threats from the Black Panthers. August resigned from the Detroit Police Department in July 1967. He became a building tradesman. August, Pally, and Sheenark all moved out of Detroit. That's what cowards do. But the Detroit Police Department has since become an integrated police force, and its commission is elected. But yeah, like I said, the lawsuits, both the Powell family and the Temple family filed lawsuits against the Detroit police officers. Settlements were reached in each case. In 1976, the city of Detroit paid each family $62,500. It would be over $250,000 today to settle for the wrongful deaths. But yeah, that's the end of the story. So when you sit back and think about it, like, who really suffers, who really, because there ain't no amount of money is going to bring anybody back. Nobody is replaceable. Nobody is forgettable. $250,000, like, that person gone forever. Life taken from them. There's no telling what these 3 teenage boys would have became. Should they stayed home that night? Maybe so. But hey, nobody saw this happening. It was planned out. I mean, I ain't gonna say planned out, but I mean, it just happened spontaneously. So nobody really knew that the riots was going to occur that night or in those 2 days. It just was a spur of the moment. People was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and then they got caught slipping. Not by no military, by police. And but yeah, guys, I'm done with this, and thank y'all for tuning in, and subscribe, like the video, share the video. If you want to donate to the Cashapp, Cashapp is $ the 1804 show, and subscribe to the channel, the 1804 show chapter 2. And I'm out. Have a good night. Peace.